Incredible moment, Black judge reveals identity, transforms life of officer in just 12 seconds. The courtroom buzzed with an electric current of rage and hope. Tension wove through the rows of spectators, hearts pounding in sync. Officer Derek Thompson sat at the defense table, his back straight but his shoulders heavy as stones. The incident that had upended his life, not just his career, but his whole existence, sat like a shadow over him. Racial tensions boiled in the community ever since that terrible night when excessive force had marred his badge. Slowly, whispers crept through the gallery, stirring up a storm of judgment from faces Derek recognized, faces that had once been friendly. Now, they looked at him with a mixture of anger and disappointment, eyes demanding answers. At his side, holding his hand with fierce loyalty, was Sarah, his wife, whose unwavering belief in him calmed the chaos swirling in his chest. She squeezed his hand, and warmth surged through him, reminding him of the values his parents instilled in him, honesty and integrity. Could they survive in a place where the world seemed to have crumbled? As the judge entered, a heavy silence fell. Judge Marcus Reynolds took his place, a respected man known for his commitment to justice. Derek felt the weight of the room pressing in as testimony began. Each word hung in the air like an unspoken accusation, feeding the fire of the community's outrage. Derek's heart raced, guilt gnawed at him, not just for what he was accused of but for the implicit biases he had accepted, which had divided them all. Then, just when Derek thought the trial would spiral beyond his control, the unexpected happened. Judge Reynolds rose. With a calm authority, he cleared his throat and spoke. "I have something to reveal." In that moment, he paused as if gauging the reaction of the crowd. Derek felt his heart stop. Then it pierced through the air. "I am Officer Thompson's estranged uncle." Gasps rippled through the audience, disbelief shattering the tension. For Derek, time froze. His cheeks flushed with a mix of shock and revelation. The faces around him morphed into a backdrop of uncertainty, the solidity of family life now hung by a thread of choices both men had made long ago. What did it mean to be family when society had built walls around them? Judge Reynolds stepped down, his expression softening as their eyes met. "There is a wall between us, but we cannot let it define who we truly are." The room held its breath, and Derek's chest tightened. Emotions surged, memories flooded back of Sunday dinners and laughter shared. Could forgiveness truly mend these deep divides? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the silence reigned, Derek felt his resolve waver, caught between the man he had become and the legacy his family carried. Could he confront his uncle about the past without losing himself in shame? The room pulsed with unresolved questions. The clock ticked down ominously. He knew choices loomed, moments fraught with possibility or conflict. Each second felt like an eternity as Derek took a shaky breath, preparing to step into the unknown. Could he find redemption amid the flames of his actions? In that dramatic silence, the fragile hope flickered, illuminating a path toward healing or perhaps deeper strife. Derek's heart raced as the realization sank in. His uncle the judge, the man respected in their community, had stepped into the limelight not just as a figure of authority, but as family. The layers of history and hurt loomed large, and for a moment, every eye in the courtroom shifted between the two of them. The wave of emotions crashing inside Derek was a tempest of anger, betrayal, and longing for connection all at once. Why now? Derek's thoughts screamed silently, burdened with confusion. He had tried to piece together their fractured relationship over the years, the family gatherings cut short, the whispers that flowed in his parents' voices when they thought he wasn't listening. Why reveal it all here? The murmurs from the gallery swelled, and Derek lifted his chin, meeting Judge Reynolds' gaze. Beneath the stately robes, he saw a man who had made difficult choices. A man who perhaps knew what it felt like to be caught between two worlds: family loyalty and a community in pain. "Uncle Marcus," he heard his voice emerge, raw and trembling. What are you doing?" Judge Reynolds glanced back at Derek, his eyes now softening with a touch of vulnerability. "I'm doing what is necessary. We can't heal unless we confront the truth together." Sarah squeezed Derek's hand tighter, grounding him. She understood the pull of family ties, the gravity it held over Derek's heart, and she wanted him to understand that strength wasn't just in his badge. It was in vulnerability too. She nodded, urging him onward. "Do you mean to tell me you know what happened that night?" Derek asked, his voice shaking slightly, tension coatlining every word. "You've been watching, and you didn't step in?" The judge sighed, running a hand over his forehead. "I was afraid, Derek. Afraid of what people would say, of the backlash. But I realize now that silence isn't strength. The world needs to hear the truth." The audience leaned in, breaths held. Their collective pain mingled with curiosity, waiting for a resolution. Derek's mind raced, spiraling through memories of the past, of the laughs over meals, of the moments that had made them family once. I didn't want this," Derek breathed, suddenly feeling the weight of shame for his own actions. "I didn't want to be this man they see now." "Yet, you are," his uncle replied gently. "But you aren't limited to that title. You are so much more. We all are." As their eyes locked, Derek began to understand. This wasn't just about family ties, it was an invitation. A call to transform their shared past into a new hope for tomorrow. But would the community allow that? Could they accept a flawed officer who sought redemption? A heavy silence blanketed the courtroom once again, but this time, it felt different. The tension was shifting, bringing forth a fragile sense of openness. Perhaps forgiveness lingered on the edge, waiting for someone to take the first leap, but before Derek could articulate the hope brewing within him, a voice rang out from the crowd, a mother's tearful outcry that shattered the budding silence. "How can we trust you?" Derek's heart sank. Hope turned to fear as he wrestled with how to respond. The walls he sought to break down now loomed higher, and the question sent ripples through his resolve. In that moment, the weight of his decision hung heavily above him. Would he step forward into the light and confront the hurt with honesty, or would he retreat back into the shadows of his past, forever shackled by guilt? The stakes were higher than ever, the path ahead a jagged one fraught with uncertainty. Uniting family and community would mean choosing vulnerability over pride. Could they collectively find a way to navigate this landscape of distrust and hurt? As Derek opened his mouth to respond, the feeling that this revelation was only the beginning hung thick in the air, leaving everyone to wonder what would happen next. Derek felt the air escape his lungs as the mother's voice echoed through the courtroom. Her words hung heavily, a painful reminder of the scars that ran deeper than anyone here realized. It felt like a spotlight shining on him, this broken man backing against the wall. The weight of expectation, of hope and doubt, pressed down like a leaden cloak. "Please," he finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Derek took a deep breath, steadying himself. "I know what I've done. I don't expect you to forgive me. Not yet. But I want to do better. I want to bring change not just for my sake, but for all of us." A flicker of surprise erupted within the crowd as Derek continued. "I've made mistakes, and I've hurt people. But that doesn't define who I can be moving forward. I'm here because I want to show you that I can learn, and I can grow." He looked toward the judge, who nodded slowly, a shared understanding passing between them. The judge took a step closer, raising his voice above the murmurs. "We all carry the weight of our choices. But today, Derek isn't alone in this journey. We stand here, united, to unravel this silence. Let us talk. Let us listen." Derek marveled at the way Judge Reynolds spoke, a steady force in the chaos. With every word, he seemed to dissolve a little of the fear that had been choking Derek. The unease of the audience lingered, but there were subtle nods and murmurs, a shift in the atmosphere that couldn't be ignored, but the mother's anguish was raw, a straight shot to the heart. You think words can change what my son experienced? How do we know you won't hurt us again? Her voice cracked, and the courtroom held its breath. The mother's pain struck deep within Derek, a reminder of the world he turned away from. I won't pretend to have the answers to heal your wounds, he said, hoping to bridge the chasm. But I'm willing to stand here, to listen. To understand. It's time we stopped shouting and started talking. The room was hushed, the tension still palpable, but something about his plea seemed to resonate. A few people shifted in their seats, glancing back to one another. Derek could see it now, the curiosity, the reluctant hope, fighting against distrust. Show us, another voice called, more hesitant than accusatory. Show us how you plan to change. Derek felt a pulse of relief mixed with anxiety. This was at the moment to step into the unknown. Give me time. Allow me to earn your trust, to prove that I can be different. His heart raced, but a flicker of determination ignited within him. Let us hold each other accountable. I don't want to be just an officer enforcing the law. I want to protect this community. I want to stand with you. Together. The judge stepped back, letting the weight of Derek's words settle in. It was quiet again, but a different kind of quiet. Not a silence steeped in distrust, but one filled with cautious possibility. Derek looked around, trying to gauge the reactions. There was a long journey ahead, laden with fears and hesitations. But as he locked eyes with Sarah, she offered a small, encouraging smile, a beacon amidst the uncertainty, yet just then, the courtroom's atmosphere shifted again. A figure in the back rose slowly, eyes steely with resentment. You think it's that easy? Derek's heart dropped. The challenge was clear, someone wasn't ready to let this go. What do you want from us? The voice demanded, piercing the moment. What can we trust in when it feels like lies hang over us like smoke? All the hope Derek built suddenly seemed fragile, about to shatter under the weight of resentment and anger. He braced himself, aware that one misstep could pull the ground from beneath him. Tension crackled in the air as Derek prepared to respond. Would he sink or swim in this moment of adversity? Would he become the change he dreams of, or fall victim to his own shadow? The courtroom waited, and so did he, heart pounding in his chest. Would he summon the courage to face another challenge head-on? Derek swallowed hard, the bitter taste of doubt rising in his throat. He glanced at the crowd, searching for familiar faces, looking for anything that could anchor him. The judge's presence loomed, but all he could focus on was that piercing voice. The tension felt like a thunderstorm ready to break. What do we trust? That you care? The voice from the back continued. Derek recognized the man from earlier, a community member whose frustration was palpable. He stood rigid, arms crossed, a barricade of fury and pain. You think we can just accept your words, when we know people like you have hurt others in the past? Derek's heart raced, his pulse echoing in his ears. This was the moment he had prepared for, yet it still felt monumental, like reaching out to catch a wave about to crash. Fighting against the urge to recoil, he took a small step forward, his gaze steady. I get it, I really do, he answered, allowing the sincerity in his voice to resonate. And I don't expect you to welcome me with open arms. The man scoffed, shaking his head. You think that's enough? Do you have a plan, or are you just here to unload your guilt? Derek prevailed against the tightening in his chest. I want a plan. I want to create one together. The words spilled out, raw and unfiltered. I want to hear from you. What do you need from me? Gasps erupted in the crowd's surprise, perhaps even a flicker of curiosity darted through their faces. It was the start of a dialogue, but Derek wasn't sure if the man would take the bait. Talk is cheap, the man said, his voice steady but his resolve seeming to waver slightly. And I recognize that, Derek replied, feeling the weight of 1,000 eyes, watching this exchange. There was a flicker of an idea in his mind, a chance to bring real light into the storm. Let us open up the discussion. What if we hold a community meeting? A chance for you all to come forward, tell me your fears, your concerns. I'll bring in others who feel the same way. Together, we can strategize on how to make this community a safer place. The man hesitated, the intensity in his eyes slowly softening. A ripple of whispers rustled through the crowd as Derek continued, I won't promise miracles, but I promise to show up, to listen. To fight for change. I'm tired of being a part of the problem, just like you all are. So let us start here. From behind him, Judge Reynolds nodded slightly. Dialogue is the start of healing. We're here today, in this space, for a reason. Derek's words emerged from somewhere deep within him, full of passion, bursting forth. Suddenly, it felt as if a new tide was turning, the audience was catching on. The man in back considered for a moment, searching Derek's face for something in return. Was it a hint of hope? A willingness to forgive? Fine, he said finally, the edge in his voice dulling. But you'll have to do more than just talk to me. I'm all in for whatever it takes, Derek promised, tasting the tang of potential on his tongue. As the crowd shifted, voices began to rise with questions, hesitations, and even a few cautious agreements. It was a chaotic symphony, but it was movement, real movement. Derek finally dared to breathe, feeling a swell of change begin to course through the room. He looked over at Sarah, who was smiling now, her hope sparking like a firework in the dim court setting. But as the din rose, the man still stood his ground. Just remember, Derek, he warned, voice steadying back to steel, this isn't about you. It's about us. Prove you mean what you say. Derek nodded, this time feeling the claim settle into his bones. He had opened a door, but how long could it stay ajar? Would the community still fear the heavy shadow of the past? With renewed determination, he prepared to take another leap into the unknown, ready to grasp the challenge ahead. Was he truly ready to rewrite his narrative and become the change he spoke of? And as the courtroom buzzed with tentative beginnings, he pondered the ultimate question: what did it mean to truly transform not just himself, but the very foundation of trust within this community? Would his journey lead to genuine reconciliation, or deeper rifts in the fabric of their lives? The room felt alive, but the energy was laced with tension. Derek stood at the center, heart pounding, even more questions erupting in his mind. Was this just a brief flicker of hope, or would it burn out like so many times before? The faces around him shifted from anger to uncertainty. Sarah waved, trying to catch his eye, urging him to stay strong. He inhaled deeply, drawing in the determination that had been building over the years. This was what he wanted, real change in a community that felt suffocated by suffering. But every heartbeat echoed the memories of his own past mistakes, shadows that threatened to catch up to him if he tripped, if he stumbled. Derek? Sarah's voice broke through the noise. You've got this. Her eyes shone with unwavering belief, igniting something deep within him. Did she see something he couldn't see? He took another deep breath, the air thick with possibility. We cannot go back, he called out, his voice rising above the murmurings. But we can step forward together. I know I can't erase the past, but I'm here to listen and learn. A ripple of murmurs passed through the crowd, and for a moment, Derek felt a flicker of unity. People leaned in, curiosity blending with skepticism. He caught the eye of the same man who had voiced those fierce concerns. The tension hung between them, a silent acknowledgement of their shared weight, the shared pain that coursed through the community. All right, the man replied slowly, still guarded. But you better bring your A-game, Derek. We've been betrayed too many times to just trust again. Derek nodded, the challenge stark and clear. I won't waste your time. Can we meet next week? I'll arrange a place, bring everyone who wants to talk. We can sit down, together. At this, a woman stood up near the front. Are you serious? You think a meeting will change things? Her voice cracked with pent-up emotion. It's going to take more than a chat. I know, Derek replied, feeling the weight of her words settle in. But we have to start somewhere. I promise, this isn't just talk. I'll put in the work. The murmurs turned into a cacophony of voices debating among themselves. He could hear disagreement, hope, and even laughter piercing the tension. That sound struck him. It wasn't wholeheartedly supportive, but it was a sign of engagement. Derek turned to the judge, who had been an unwavering pillar in this chaos. Can you help facilitate this? Absolutely, Judge Reynolds replied, standing taller. If the community wants this, let us make it happen. Suddenly, Derek was aware of small victories, the unexpected nods, the cautious smiles. They needed more than just him to lead the way. They needed each other. Hope surged through him, and for the first time, the idea of change didn't feel like an insurmountable wall. It felt tangible. But just as they began to solidify plans, the doors of the courtroom swung open with a sudden whoosh. All heads turned, the atmosphere thinning in an instant. A figure walked in, commanding everyone's attention. Derek's heart skipped. Was it a journalist or someone from the community? His pulse quickened as the person approached the front. As the crowd fell silent, the newcomer removed their hood, revealing a face that felt familiar. Derek squinted, recognition dawning like the breaking of morning light. When their eyes locked, he felt a jolt. It was someone he'd lost contact with long ago, someone whose presence was bound to shift everything he thought he knew about change. Remember me? The stranger said, a smirk playing at the corners of their lips. Let us talk about what really matters, Derek. A series of whispers swept through the crowd, confusion mingled with excitement. Who was this person, and how would their presence impact the fragile conversations Derek was trying to foster? Derek felt the ground shift beneath him once more, and with the weight of expectation surrounding him, he began to wonder, what new truths would be revealed, and more importantly, could a past connection help heal the wounds that plagued his community? Derek's chest tightened as his mind raced. The echoes of lost time reverberated between him and the stranger at the front of the room. What are they doing here, he thought, images flashing of late-night conversations and promises left unfulfilled. The crowd hung on the stranger's every word, each pair of eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and unease. Who are you? Derek managed to ask, each word feeling heavy like lead. The stranger grinned, a familiar warmth shining through the initial coldness. It's been a long time, hasn't it? Sam Reed. Recognition washed over Derek, a wave of nostalgia crashing through his carefully structured resolve. Sam had been more than a friend once, they were a team, bundled in ambition and idealism, until life took them in different directions. The memories felt bittersweet now, a haunting nostalgia grounding him at the worst possible moment. What are you doing here, Sam? Derek whispered, though the crowd seemed to fade away, focusing solely on their shared history. The same reason you are, Sam replied with a firmness that surprised Derek. I've heard the talk. I've seen the struggle. And from what I know, it's a chance to make things right. The murmurs in the crowd grew, a low hum of speculation taking shape. Derek felt the weight in the room shift, pulses quickening as people's interest peaked. Can you elaborate? Someone called from the back. Sam turned to face the crowd, a sudden determination lighting their face. Derek's right. Starting a conversation is crucial, but it doesn't have to end there. We can build bridges. We can share our stories that matter. I've lived through this community too. I get it. The room stirred, a wave of reaction sparking around him. Derek saw faces beginning to soften as old grievances swirled like smoke in the air. In Sam's presence, there was a flicker of hope that had been dim for far too long. But we have to be honest, Sam continued, their tone serious. It's messy. It's painful. But healing rarely comes easy. Are you all willing to step outside your comfort zones? Derek felt a rush of adrenaline, caught between his past and the weight of the present. Was this really happening? Could Sam be the catalyst he had been searching for? I think we could all share something, a soft voice rang out from his left. It was the woman from earlier with the cracked tone, the one who had demanded more than just talk. But we need a space where it's okay to be vulnerable, to truly be heard. A ripple of agreement passed through the group, nodding heads punctuating her words. Derek glanced at Judge Reynolds, who was leaning forward in her seat, an intrigued smile breaking through her usual composure. Let us create that space, Judge Reynolds suggested. We can meet in the community center. Make it a roundtable discussion. Set the ground rules, ensure everyone feels safe. Derek's heart lifted. There it was, the spirit of collaboration, the sense of unity he craved. He locked eyes with Sam, who smiled back, the connection reaffirmed. They both understood they had power now, a chance to create something real. But just as things began to take a positive turn, a loud crash halted their momentum. The doors swung open again, and another figure stumbled in, appearing frantic. The newcomer's eyes darted around, panic painted across their face. What is going on here? You can't just talk without dealing with the real problems. Their voice cut through the air, sharp and urgent, filling the room with a tense energy. Derek's heart sank. Here came another obstacle, another disruption. As he glanced at Sam, he could feel the weight of their shared responsibility expand. How much further could they push through without losing control? Listen, Derek started, mustering his strength. We need to confront the reality together, but we also need to hear every voice in this room. A quiet tension hung in the air as the newcomer crossed their arms defiantly, challenging the atmosphere of fragile hope. Could Derek weather this storm? Would this community finally listen to each other, or would they unravel all he had fought for? With emotions racing, he understood this moment could change everything or lead to an even deeper divide. All eyes were on him, perched on the edge of uncertainty. What would he say next? Derek's mind raced as he stared at the newcomer. Every word felt like it hung in the air, heavy and charged. The crowd, which had been slowly warming up to the idea of sharing and healing, shifted uncomfortably. Please, we're all here for a reason, Derek pressed, stepping a little closer to the stranger. Your voice matters too, but if we only jump to the problems without listening to each other, what are we accomplishing? The tension in the room was palpable, as if the very walls were holding their breath. The newcomer, a frazzled young man with tousled hair and eyes bright with urgency, remained unmoved. You don't get it. Every day, people suffer out there. This isn't just a discussion, it's a fight. Derek felt his pulse quicken at the guy's intensity. People had stopped murmuring. They watched, waiting for someone to take the lead. His mind flashed back to the days when he and Sam had charged into different battles, full of optimism. Fighting starts with understanding, Sam spoke up, their voice steady. What if we included all our struggles? Yours, mine, everyone's. Together, we can make this space truly representative. Make it representative? The newcomer shot back, disbelief etched in his features. How can we sit around talking while lives are at stake? For a split second, Derek felt his energy deplete. But then he caught Sam's gaze. It was full of determination, a shared willingness to push through the discomfort. What we're asking for isn't trivial, Derek said, his voice rising just enough to break through the noise. We're here to build something, to create a future instead of reliving the past. A lingering silence followed. Derek could feel the weight of everyone's eyes shifting back and forth between him and the newcomer. He had to act. Look, what if we create an action plan? He suggested, pushing himself to think outside the box. We can schedule these roundtables, but let us also come up with immediate steps we can take. It's not just talk, we need to dig deep, understand our roots, and then face the real world with clear solutions. We can tackle issues one at a time. The crowd began to nod slowly, but the newcomer stayed stiff, arms crossed tightly against his chest. You think you can just say a few nice words and change things? He challenged Derek. You think systemic issues will bend to your idea of togetherness? Derek inhaled deeply, the sound of his breath echoing in his mind. No, I don't. But I believe you can't reshape a system without reshaping your heart first. We need to get together, to understand each other beyond labels and names. Only then can we find solutions that resonate. Drumming fingers softened against the wood tables as a few voices flickered in agreement. Someone called out, "What do we have to lose? Let us hear him out." Hope began to swell as faces turned back towards the newcomer. There was a stirring of emotion, an undercurrent of vulnerability surfacing among the group. People wanted to break away from their past habits, to share their truths instead of hiding behind fear. But could the newcomer see what was starting to blossom? You don't need to be afraid of or angry at us, Derek continued, his voice tinged with conviction. You're part of this community too. Will you join us? A pause thickened the air. The newcomer's defiance faltered just a bit, uncertainty flickering behind his eyes. Derek held his breath, aware that a single moment could alter everything. Would the anger give way to understanding, or would it deepen the divide? As he held the space, a flicker of acknowledgement seemed to break through. But just then, a sudden crash interrupted them again. The door slammed open, drawing everyone's attention. A new figure stood in the doorway, urgency radiating from their every feature. Derek! We need you outside. The newcomer shouted, spinning everyone's attention toward the unfolding chaos. What now? Derek's heart thundered as the weight of their gathering felt so fragile, teetering on the brink of something monumental or something irreparable. What could possibly lie ahead? Derek's pulse raced as he turned to face the newcomer at the door. The urgency in their voice cut through the room like a knife. He took a step towards them, heart pounding. What happened? Derek asked, trying to keep his voice steady despite a sudden wave of dread. It's outside. It's bad, the newcomer said, glancing back nervously. We need to move. Now. The crowd was suddenly aware of the weight of the world pressing beyond those walls, as if they had been cocooned in their deliberations, sheltered from a storm brewing right outside. Faces shifted from concern to alarm. Murmurs rippled through the group like a wave. Derek, what do we do? Sam asked, their gaze darting from Derek to the door and back again. He felt the gravity of the moment, a crossroads emerging where words would either galvanize or collapse the gathering. Everyone, listen, he began, raising his hands to quiet the chatter. If we head outside, it's important we stay together. Let us not lose what we've built in here. The newcomer shifted restlessly, clearly expecting urgency over caution. But Derek knew if chaos awaited them beyond those doors, grounding the group would be the only way to face it together. Please, let us take a moment, he urged. Can we agree to keep our focus? Where there's chaos, there's also the chance for us to unite. A few heads nodded, though the newcomer's expression soured. This is naive. We can't just stand here. Every step back to our roots can help propel us forward, Derek countered, grounding his voice. We can tackle this together. As the crowd absorbed his words, he felt a flicker of hope. Struggling minds began to reassess the situation, the blend of ardor and uncertainty molding a new determination. One by one, more voices joined Derek's call. I trust us, Sam said, stepping closer. This is our chance to take a stand. The newcomer's anger momentarily dissolved as the energy shifted around him. Faces lit up with fresh resolve. More people began to stand, and Derek could see the embers of unity igniting in their eyes. Let us go. Someone shouted, and the statement ignited a spark within the group that was electrifying. Derek wasn't sure what awaited them outside, but at this moment, he felt the weight of something monumental building within the hearts of everyone present. As they moved toward the door, Derek heard the stir of the crowd behind him, their footsteps echoing like drums. Each step was a testament to what joining forces looked like. They were no longer individuals wrapped in fear, they were a collective upon which hope hung. Stepping outside, the chaos washed over them in waves. The scene was frantic. People were screaming, faces trapped between fear and resolve. Derek spotted figures on the ground, and a chill ran through him. "Stay together!" he shouted, but panic jolted through the gathering just as sirens began to wail in the distance. Derek's heart raced as he fought against the tide of disarray. This was it, this was the moment of truth. Would they fight for their community together, or would chaos rip them apart? He scanned the crowd, seeking familiar faces and gathering strength from the collective will. Just as he turned back, a shout rang out, splitting the air. "There's a judge! We can't lose him! He's our only chance!" Derek's breath caught in his throat. The stakes were about to shift. Who was the judge? What power did they hold? As he pushed forward, adrenaline coursed through his veins, propelling him toward whatever fate awaited in this moment of frenzy. What was about to unfold could change everything, but for better or worse, he couldn't yet tell. Would they rise to the occasion or find themselves swept away in the chaos? Derek's heart thundered as he sped through the swirling mass of bodies. The air was thick with confusion and fear. He caught snippets of frantic conversations, desperate cries for someone to take charge, to lead, to save them. In that chaos, one thought consumed him: find the judge. The crowd surged forward, but its heart seemed to beat erratically, different members pulling one way or another. Derek felt the push, the pull, the raw energy of survival. He focused on the shouts, searching desperately for something, someone. "Over there!" Sam's voice broke through the noise, pointing toward a figure standing apart from the frenzy. The judge. Recognizable by the authoritative presence that cut through the chaos like a lighthouse guiding lost ships. "Stay close," Derek urged, falling in step alongside Sam and the rest as they moved toward that figure of hope. As they got closer, he could see the judge's face, a mix of determination and sorrow that mirrored the circumstances. "Please, we need your help," Derek called out, his voice strained yet full of need. The judge turned, and in those storm-tossed moments, their eyes locked. "I know why you're here," the judge said, voice steady amid the clamor. "We must act, but we do not act in fear." Derek could feel the intensity ripple through the crowd, his heart quickening as the judge raised a hand to silence them. Instantly, the shouting faded to a hush, a collective breath held as everyone leaned into the power of this moment. "Listen," the judge commanded, with a fervor that grabbed hold of every individual present. "What unfolds here today will define us. Will we stand together as one, or will we fracture under pressure?" A quiet urgency replaced the panic, and Derek could see it, the flicker of resolve igniting in the eyes of those around him. The judge continued, "You have a choice. Fear can divide, but unity can create strength in remarkable ways." "But how?" someone shouted back, a voice filled with uncertainty breaking the spell of gravity. The judge took a moment, looking at each face, absorbing the hope and despair reflected back. "We gather our stories, our resilience. We stand together. We tell our truth." Derek felt the weight of conviction settle over him, interlacing with the threads of hope holding the crowd together. In that brief exchange, everything felt alive. "Join hands," the judge proclaimed, and without a moment's hesitation, dozens of hands reached out, clasping together like a chain. It was powerful, a unity that transcended fear, woven through shared experience and the belief that they could prevail. For Derek, it was more than just an act, it felt like a lifeline. He reached for Sam's hand, squeezing it firmly. "We're all in this," he reaffirmed, his eyes scanning their frenetic surroundings, locking onto Sam's hopeful gaze. The judge's eyes softened, and there was a slight nod of approval. "Now, we change the narrative. Together." As they stood linked, Derek expected an explosion of chaos, but instead, he felt a shift, the kind of energy that breaks chains. Suddenly, a loud crack resonated from somewhere nearby. People screamed again, a new wave of panic surging, shattering their moment of unity. Derek's stomach sank. What was that? He whispered, unsure of whether hope was still within reach. Stay strong. The judge urged, voice resolute. We can do this. But doubt crept in, gnawing at the edges of Derek's spirit. They could be pushed back into chaos. They could be fractured just when everything hung in balance. Would they have the strength to hold on, to face whatever was brewing right around the corner? With the crowd unsettled and angry murmurs rippling, Derek tightened his grip on Sam's hand. They were united, but could they withstand what lay ahead? Ready? Sam asked, eyes wide with anticipation. Derek took a deep breath, uncertainty clashing with hope. Ready as we'll ever be. Then, another shout broke through the gloom. They're coming. We need to run. Derek's heart raced. Could they really face whatever storm was brewing, or would they be swept away? The decision was looming. Their unity was about to be tested unlike anything they had ever faced. Derek felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him as fear ricocheted through the assembled crowd. The judge's call to unite rang in his ears, but the threat ahead seemed daunting. We can't lose what we've built, he declared, squeezing Sam's hand tighter as they stood together, facing the impending chaos. As panic swirled around them, an instinct to lead ignited within Derek. Everyone, he shouted. If we stand together, we find strength. Follow me. It was a bold claim, but there was no time for hesitation. He turned, the energy of the crowd shifting, their eyes now filled with something more than fear. Determination. Derek pushed through the throng, urging others to follow him toward a nearby park, open ground that could serve as a safe haven. He felt the pulse of the crowd quickening as they moved in unison, hands clasped, forging a new resolve amid the alarm. Each step seemed to invigorate them, turning the tide from panic to a shared purpose. Stay close. We stand as one. Derek barked, his voice cutting through the noise. Sam moved beside him, eyes full of fierce pride and belief, urging more people to join. The judge's call echoed in his heart. This was a chance to rewrite the narrative, to shift perspectives from fear to hope. As they arrived at the park, the air felt fresh, free. Derek turned to face the crowd, breathing in the possibility that buzzed between them. This is our moment, he proclaimed, feeling the energy swell. Today, we confront our fears, not as individuals defined by our past, but as a community ready for change. The crowd settled, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. Before Derek could continue, the angry man from before stepped forward. You think words can change what's broken? Loud murmurs flared up, showing the rift was still there but different this time. Derek stepped forward again, confidence growing. No, but they can be the start. We're not asking for blind trust, we're here to earn it, to show we can build something better. Come together, not just to complain but to fight for what we believe in. A ripple of murmurs rolled through the gathered faces, curiosity blending with skepticism. Sam glanced at Derek, catching his eye, and he felt a surge of strength. He continued, let us create a plan, a real one. We need to consider solutions for our families, our neighborhoods. Let us decide what that looks like together. Words are easy. Action is hard. The man shot back, but others murmured agreement with Derek, the spirit shifting under his feet. Let us take action. A voice rang out from the back, a woman with tears in her eyes. Let us break the cycle. Derek nodded vigorously, absolutely. Let us gather here every week. We'll discuss our experiences, find our common ground, and take tangible steps toward action. We'll map out our goals. What do we need to change? Hope permeated the air now, excitement mingling with possibility, the weight of doubt beginning to crumble away. One by one, voices started to rise, ideas flowing from their collective fears and hopes. They all spoke about lost loved ones, about the battles they fought daily, about building a future where their children could thrive. This wasn't just a remembrance of pain, it turned into a blueprint for change. Derek met Sam's eyes again, feeling a wave of pride that they could face their community, scars on their hearts but a fire in their souls. As the conversations flowed, a vision of a united humanity took shape. Fixing what was broken wouldn't be easy, but it was possible. Suddenly, laughter erupted. It was unexpected, real, a rare moment of ease amid vulnerability. Derek smiled, seeing the flicker of connection against the storm clouds that they had navigated together. Each acknowledgement pushed them closer, a resilient thread weaving through fear and forging a fresh commitment to better, a beacon shining bright in the midst of chaos. And then, as the sounds of community echoed vibrantly around him, Derek could feel that spark igniting something deeper than hope. It was undeniable, a rebirth of trust emerging from the ashes of despair. They saw it now, mirrored in each other's eyes. "See this light? We won't let it go," Derek vowed. "Let us build trust together. We will change this narrative, not just for us, but for our future, for those who come after." Applause broke out, a rumble of agreement shaking through the crowd. A gradual crescendo that grew louder, scattering fears and fueling their resolve. Derek's heart swelled, taking in every face uplifted with promise. Together, they shouted as one, voices harmonizing amidst the warmth of renewed unity. This was the moment they stepped into the light. As the crowd surged forward, hands joined, Derek felt the energy pulsating with hope. A rebirth of community in motion. They were ready to reclaim their worth, to rise and face whatever lay ahead. This was not just an end, it was a beginning, the dawn of a new chapter for a town that had long buried its heart beneath silence. But today, they were finally speaking up, and they were ready to face the truth. Now, more than ever, it was clear, they were stronger together and nothing could break that bond. Confidence surged, and hearts aligned with purpose. As they stepped forward into the world outside, they felt alive with the transformation they fought so hard to pursue. So now, it's your turn. If you're inspired by this journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button to feed the algorithm and help us reach more souls like yours. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about the ending. Let us spread this wave of hope and change together.